sake, and then if others were not able to join, we can disseminate the recording as needed. So today is the first of a couple of different STEM success webinars that we'll have this summer. Today we'll be talking about class scheduling, how we determine what you're in, when we determine what you're in, how you see who your advisor is, all sorts of good stuff. We will share the list of the other sessions in the chat in just a bit. So to start, we wanted to give you kind of a visual representation of what you might anticipate in terms of a first semester schedule for an engineering student. The first semester is very similar across the majority of our majors, almost identical really for, again, the engineering students. Computer science, you have a couple of unique components that I'll review in just a second, but for all of my engineering students, generally speaking, first semester students will have what we call a seminar, and you can see it right here, this EAS 199. It also has an associated lab component. This is actually a requirement of all UB students. All UB students must complete a seminar, but EAS is the engineering version of that seminar. It is a class that will be taught by faculty in the School of Engineering, so you'll get to connect with faculty right from C's from your first semester. And the goal really is to help expose you to all that C's has to offer. So there will be guest speakers, like for example, advising will come in to chat with you about some timely reminders. You will hear from different departments. So perhaps you're coming in as a mechanical student, but you find that you're connecting more with something going on in like the biomedical department. The goal here really is to make you aware of all that is available to you as an engineering student at UB and how to navigate those resources. For our computer science students, you do also take a seminar. It's just a computer science version. So you would see a CSE 199 on your schedule. So regardless, all of you will have a seminar. In addition to that seminar, most of you are going to have what we would call our first communication literacy course. It's here as your English 105. If you are someone who speaks a language other than English as your primary language, you may see something like ELI 105, ELI 100. All of those are communication literacy requirements. And so that is a university requirement, but is also fulfilling a degree requirement for our engineering and computer science students, okay? If you're coming in with college credit, which we'll talk about a little bit further down the line, because you've fulfilled that English credit, your advisor will help you fill in with an appropriate substitution, right? The other class that all of our engineering students take is a chemistry lecture and a chemistry lab. Okay, so right here you see chemistry 107 and the associated lab, chemistry 127. This is chemistry for engineers. So whether you are a mechanical or a biomedical engineer, you'll be spending that first semester with a chemistry lecture and lab. For my computer science students, you will actually be taking a CSE 115, which would be your introductory programming class. So you've got your English, your chemistry, your seminar. The other component that all of our C students will complete is a math requirement. So most typically we would see students begin this first semester in Math 141, which is Calc 1. And you will get into that course a couple of different ways, and we'll talk about all the different ways we can get your math placement sorted out, but everyone will have a math class. Hopefully it's that Math 141 Calc 1. If not, you may see a Math 114, which is pre-calc, which will help you become ready to take Calc 1. And possibly if you've completed Calc 1 through AP credit or, again, college credit, perhaps even a Calc 2, okay? But there should be a math component to your schedule for the fall. And again, this is just a typical first semester schedule. That would be 15 credits, which is right around where most students feel most comfortable sitting. And they would all be fulfilling degree or university requirements. So when will you get your schedule? It's going to depend on a few different things. There are some to-do tasks that we need you to attend to before we will be able to register you, okay? So first things first, you're going to need to register for orientation and complete that orientation information form. That intake form provides really helpful information to your advisor. You'll indicate if you've taken AP credits, if you've taken college credits. It indicates how sure you are of your major. So the conversation that your advisor has with you either in the summer, in the fall, can really target in on where you're at as a student. Then from there, you do have to take care of a couple of things that we call holds, and we'll look at that in depth in just a moment. But you do have to complete the profile information and financial agreement on Hub. That is going to prevent registration. So until you attend to those holds, even advisors cannot put courses on your schedule. Essentially, the profile information is updating your demographics. The financial agreement is affirming that you understand, you will have a bill, you'll have to pay your bill, etc. And we'll go through where you can find those in just a moment. From there, you're going to submit your health records. And then lastly, as I alluded to in the previous slide, you'll take that math readiness assessment so we can figure out what math class you'd be most successful in. So in terms of registering for orientation, very important, please make sure that you do indicate all of the AP credit and transfer credit that you completed. You don't want to leave anything out, and it doesn't matter if you don't have your scores yet. You can indicate that you're waiting on grades if it's a spring semester class and grades haven't posted. I know AP exams, the scores probably haven't released yet, but we do want to be aware of what you took so that we can advise accordingly for the fall. And even if you are someone who took AP classes, for example, but you didn't feel really confident in them and you want to take the course here with us at UB, we still do want to know about that, not because we're going to, try to persuade you one way or the other, but just so we can have a really holistic understanding of your background as a student. So your advisor should be very open to your feedback, your confidence level with the coursework you've completed. We just want to make sure we have the complete picture when we're talking about what you've done and where you're going for fall. From there, you'll activate your UBIT information. So that'll give you access to your UBIT name, set up your password, all of the UB accounts. And then you'll enroll in the Duo two-step verification. That's just how you're going to confirm safely, right? Cyber safety there, that it's you accessing all of your accounts. I'm going to skip the video just for time's sake. So as I mentioned, one of the things you'll have to attend to before we can get you registered is this profile information and financial agreement hold. If you log onto your Hub Student Center and click the to-do tile, you'll be able to then see the list of to-dos you have to complete, okay? So you'll log into the Hub Student Center, you'll see a tile that says to-do, you'll click there, and then you'll see the list of all of your tasks you need to complete. If you click onto the task specifically, it will then give you instructions for how to resolve that, okay? These are holds that you'll have to complete every semester in order to enroll in classes. So every semester we want updated demographic information for you just to make sure we know where to call you if we need to get in touch with you. And then obviously for financial responsibility, financial liability, they want an updated affirmation of that. Next, you'll submit your health records. So what you're going to do here is you've got a couple of different ways that you can fulfill this requirement. Most of it can be done online. Hopefully you can get the information from your healthcare team, your healthcare provider. And you definitely want to get this taken care of sooner rather than later. While your profile information and your financial liability holds can update pretty much real time, the health records will be a little bit slower to update because they're looked at obviously on our end for compliance with expectations. So I would say don't wait on that. If you can get a hold of your healthcare team to get proof of immunizations and upload them to the patient portal, then that will take care of one more to do in your list of tasks. So math readiness assessment, this is a big one here for us in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. We want to get you started on the right foot with us in the fall semester. And a big way to ensure that we do that is to make sure you're placed in the right math class. you can think of your first semester math class as a foundational cornerstone class, really for the next 4 years that you're with us. Okay. So we want to make sure if you are calc ready that we get you into calc and you can hit the ground running. But if not, that's okay. We have students that come to us and are not yet ready to jump in 2 feet to a calc class. And they'll take that first semester to complete Math 114 or pre-calc. Your advisor will be familiar with advising students in that situation. So the math readiness assessment is an assessment that you can take up to 2 times online and once in person at your orientation. So a total of 3 possible testing opportunities. And based on the scores you receive, your advisor will direct you into either pre-calculus, that Math 114, or possibly Math 141 calculus. Okay. If you are someone who's coming in with college pre-calc credit or AP or college calc credit, you would not need to take the MRA. We would either ask for, your transcript once it became available, your AP scores, obviously from College Board, and we'd enroll you into the appropriate math class. You can register for the MRA using the Navigate app, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And again, that's a test that you can take up to 2 times online and 1 time in person at your orientation.
Amanda, I'd like to add, if you are planning to take Math 141 in the fall, regardless of your AP Calculus AB score, please take the Math MRA because we cannot enroll you into Math 141 until we have that MRA score. Some students want to take Math 141 regardless of their AP score, but want to wait to see if they have a 4 or a 5. Then we're waiting until after those scores report to enroll you into that calculus course. If you took a calculus course through high school and you took an AP calculus course, you'll do fine on the MRA. It'll take about an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour. It's just assessing that readiness for calculus. So as I put in the chat, if you want to take Math 141 in the fall, just take the MRA now. We can get your scores and then we can finish your class schedule.
Thanks, Erin. That's a great point. I also did put the Math Readiness FAQ link in the chat. So if you have more questions or you want a little bit more information about what that assessment would include, you can check out that website. Again, I want to reassure students, not scoring what you had hoped on the math readiness assessment is not something that advisors panic about. So I don't want you to panic about it either. You could arguably still make that 4-year timeline to graduation, even if we started with a pre-calc, depending on how obviously the rest of your time with us went. So we see students in both situations. So speaking of Navigate, as I said, Navigate is the application through which our students access a whole host of resources. Perhaps most importantly, Navigate is how you make appointments with many different resources on campus. So if you're looking for an advising appointment, we refer you to the Navigate app because you can see our calendars and see specifically like when I have availability, when Erin has availability, etc. But also for supports like tutoring, you would use that same application. You can set alerts and reminders, look up different campus resources. You can sync your class schedule with your phone calendar so you have a little bit better record of where you're supposed to be and when. This next bullet point I like a lot, find study buddies. So some of your classes may be larger in size, especially that first semester because you have so many students that need things like a Calc 1. And the study buddies feature through Navigate allows you to connect with other students in your class, in your lecture, who also want to form a study group. So, you'll be in the same class, same professor, same content material, and you can connect that way to get a good study group underway. And explore majors. We have a lot of resources on campus to help with that, but Navigate is one of them. So AP and transfer credit. So some of you may be coming in with AP credit. I just linked the alternative exam credit like articulation chart in the chat for you. We would want to see that reported on the orientation form. And then depending on how scores shake out, you could earn credit for some of the degree requirements or the UB curricular requirements, specifically what we would call pathways. We think of those as some of our general education requirements. Those are a good way, if you felt confident in the material you learned through your AP experience, to move ahead in the curriculum. When you speak with your advisor, for those of you who have AP or transfer credit, they will ask how confident you felt, how strong you felt in your calc class, for example. I'm seeing in the chat a question about if you have AP calc credit, should you take calc again or should you jump to calc 2? That's really going to be a case by case basis. There's not a right or wrong answer there. Some students feel like they would like a full 16-week semester at the college level in that Calc 1 class so they can feel really confident and reinforce what they learned in high school. Others want to move ahead because they think they've mastered the material and they don't need to spend another semester reviewing what they previously learned. So that'll be a conversation you'll have individually with your advisor. And again, not a right or wrong answer there. Every student situation is different. So AP and transfer credit, like I said, AP, we see a lot of calc, we see some pathway, and same with transfer credit. Some of you may also have that English 105, that first communication literacy course that comes through. And you can either use the AP articulation chart that I shared with you here, or this slide shows you our torus, which shows what we call universal articulations or equivalencies between different schools. So you would be able to look up, you can search by school. So wherever you completed that transfer credit, and then you'd be able to look up the course you completed and see what it equates to here at UB. Your advisor will also help you with this. So it's not something you have to do on your own. But if you were curious for your own planning purposes, you can look that up as well. So who is my advisor? I'm actually going to put a link in the chat to the SEAS portal. So if you have activated your UBIT name and password, you can log into the SEAS portal through that link in the subsequent login button you'll see there. If you log into the SEAS portal, you'll be taken into this repository of very impressive tools that we have for all of our School of Engineering students. And in the portal, you'll be able to see who your assigned advisor is. Okay, so you'll see along the top a whole bunch of different links. If you click advising, you'll see who your academic advisor is. You will have an advisor through the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, of course, but for some of our students who may find themselves in other populations on campus, like honors, athletics, EOP, you may also see other names there from other advising units, and that is just to ensure that you have a really robust network of support behind you. So while I will be able to answer all questions related to SEAS, if you had specific questions about like honors experiences, you'd want to get in touch with your honors advisor, who should also be listed there as well. Your advisor is accessible by email. Some students will have conversations with over the summer about that AP and transfer credit. And then moving forward, we encourage students to meet with us roughly once a semester for kind of like a check-in, how are things going, and to make sure you're following that 4-year timeline to graduation. So the portal, as I just mentioned, is really a helpful hub of tools. So probably the most utilized component of the portal is the personal flow sheet, which we'll take a look at like what a screenshot of that looks like in just a second. But you can use the portal to accomplish all of the tasks you see displayed here. So things like a forced registration, a credit override, and these are things you may not even know what they are yet. That's okay, you don't need to. But just know that this portal exists for you to interact with your credits that perhaps you're bringing in from high school, the curriculum that you're going to complete with us here while you're at at UB, and also, to help you and your advisor make sure that you're on the same page when you're planning next steps. So if you are in your portal, again, you'll see a whole bunch of different hyperlinks along the top. Obviously, if you click schedule and you've already received registration for your fall schedule, you'll be able to see what you were registered for. Okay. So you will, I'm just going to admit a couple people, you will be able to see what you've got on the docket for fall 25. It would probably be in line with what we reviewed at the beginning of this presentation. Going down here, you'll see the flow sheet, which again is what I referenced before is probably our most utilized tab, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. And then the transfer credit tab for students who are asking questions about AP credit, credit through, like Syracuse or ECC, all of that would live here in the transfer credit link, okay? So next, your personal flow sheet. Your personal flow sheet is going to be your 4-year path to graduation, okay? It basically is taking the required curriculum of your degree and overlapping it with anything you're bringing in from high school, so possible AP transfer credit, and then also, as you move through the curriculum, updating with courses you complete during your time with us. So you see right here, this is a computer science student, and I can tell because they've got that CSE 199 seminar. They've got the CSE 115 here, the Intro to Computer Science 1. All of you, whether you're computer science or one of our engineering majors, you'll have a personal flow sheet. Anything that you see in yellow indicates courses that you're enrolled in for the current term. So for us, we're talking about fall 2025. Anything you see in this kind of like pink red color, those are outstanding degree requirements. You haven't done them yet, but you're going to have to earn that degree. Okay. And again, as you move through your time with us, things are going to change colors. Once you complete your first semester, this will all be green, and we'll probably get you registered in all these courses here. Those will turn yellow. So you can track your movement through your 4 years with us. I should say it's interactive as well. Obviously, this is a PowerPoint, so I can't show you the full functionality of it. But, if you were to wonder, like, what does a CSE 220 program consist of? You can click on that and it'll pop up information about the class as well. So what if you want to change majors? First of all, I want to reassure you that's fairly common, right? It's hard to know exactly what you want to do at this point. And I just want to say you're in good company. Erin and I have worked with a lot of outstanding students that changed their major and went on to graduate in 4 years and have really positive experiences. So don't panic too much. Don't let it keep you up at night if you're wondering, have I made the right choice for me? You've got time to sort that out just yet. If you are someone who's thinking that you want to change from an engineering major to a computer science major or computer science to an engineering, just let your C's advisor know, because we would want to make sure that you're then in the correct seminar, right? That EAS 199 versus CSE 199. And then obviously we'd want to get you into maybe a chemistry versus that computer science course. So if it's something that over the summer, you've made a decision, you want to make a change, that's fine. We can make adjustments up through really the first week of classes, but sooner is always better. If you do know you want to stay in the School of Engineering, but you're not quite sure what that looks like for you, like, do I want to be aero? Do I want to be mechanical? Like, what do I want to specifically pursue? Again, that first semester is pretty much identical for our engineering majors, okay? You'll have your seminar, probably that English course, chemistry, and math. So if you are coming in as aero and then at the end of fall, you think like, whoa, this is not what I thought it was, I want to be industrial, we can make that change, and your advisor will be happy to assist with that. You can see listed here in the PowerPoint that will be shared with you a couple of other options for learning about our majors. There's also more information about that EAS 199 and CSE 199 seminar that I've been talking a little bit about. So, um, this is an overview of what we would consider a public facing flow sheet. So in your C's portal, you have your flow sheet. So like if I was in my portal, I can see Amanda's flow sheet. But again, if you're someone who is just trying to see what's going on in the School of Engineering more broadly, maybe you came in Aero, you want to see what would it look like if I were to be industrial. We do have forward facing public flow sheets that you can take a look at. And let me share that link with you all as well. You click that link, you'll be able to kind of play around with all the different majors that we offer in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, and you'll see the semester by semester curriculum sequencing. So it's the same information that you would see in your personalized flow sheet, but now you can access it for all of the majors that we offer. And obviously, it's just not lighting up in terms of courses you've completed because anyone can access this. This is interactive though. So if you click that link, and let me see, maybe I can, Erin, do you now see the flow sheet page?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just take a quick second. We'll take a look at mechanical 25. So you can see if I hover over this calculus 1, you see a lot light up because calc is that cornerstone course we talked about. So it would be what we would call a prerequisite course for a lot of the classes you're taking later on, okay? And like I said before, if you're wondering what does Calc 1 include, at like a broad level, you can click on the little info button and see a description of the course, the credits, things like that. So if you're someone who, again, came in a specific major, but you want to compare and contrast to what the curriculum looks like across the board, you can feel free to do that. And then you can see as well, if we go back to my PowerPoint here, there is a color key. So you can understand exactly what those different colors lighting up would indicate, whether it's a prerequisite, a post-requisite, a co-requisite, like whatever the case may be. You can see how the curriculum builds on itself and works together. So this would obviously be an effective way to also understand sequencing, as I said. One of the tricky things about the curricula in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, it does build on itself, right? So for example, I can't take Calc 2 until I've taken Calc 1. I can't take Calc 3 until I've taken Calc 2, etc. And that seems very intuitive, right? Calc 1, 2, 3, but it may be less intuitive about how it interacts with coursework at the upper level in the degree specifically. So the different colors will help you understand why before you move into your fall of your sophomore year and you take statics, we need you to complete these prerequisites. So it's going to help you plan out what courses you need to take when, so that you can have the information that you then build on as you move through your 4 years. And again, that's also why you have your advisor. We will work closely with you and using that flow sheet so that we can kind of speak a common language about what we need you to do to get you where you want to be in terms of degree completion, timeline to finishing there. So that's everything on our end in terms of the presentation. I know Erin's been very helpful in the chat answering questions. If you have additional questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like. We're here to answer any of questions that maybe we didn't address through this presentation related to your schedule experience.
I would like to answer the one question here in the chat about pathways. So the question is, are there any recommendations within SEAS or within my major for global and thematic pathways? So this is an excellent question. So for our engineering students, not for computer science, but for our engineering students, as you go to make your pathway selections, you'll notice when you get to your thematic list 3 and global list 3, that there is overlap with your major. So if your major is civil engineering, when you get to your list 3 selections, you're going to want to choose that required civil engineering course. So you do have an opportunity. So out of the 6 required pathway courses for our engineering students, there are 2 of your required engineering courses that will overlap. And then the other four are going to be outside of your major. And that is intentional because that is your opportunity to have experiences outside of those STEM related content courses. Your opportunity to take a a music course, an art course, a humanities, and a higher level English course. To have that holistic global education and a well-rounded degree program that you can then go on to graduate school or go into industry with an education that reaches all areas and is well-rounded. The other question, the recording will be available on our resource page, on our incoming student resource page later this week. And all of our webinars, as they're recorded, they will be uploaded, I would probably say, a few business days afterwards for viewing at any point. Let's see. Someone's doing college credit, which is approved. How much will it take to review and waive off credits for that particular subject? So anyone that has college credit, and I do understand a lot of you are still finishing up your classes, taking final exams. Once you have a grade for that college credit, you need to reach out to the college. So if you're here in Buffalo and you're taking a class through Erie Community College through your high school, it would be Erie Community College that would need to send the transcript to UB admissions. So once you have that grade, you would reach out to Erie Community College registrar's office. They will send us the official transcript, but it has to be requested from the college. It can't come from your high school, and it can't come from your high school transcript because your high school is not awarding the credit, even though you took the class in that high school classroom. Because there is a large influx of these transcripts coming in now in this summer, I would give 2 weeks. So what is that, about, 10 business days for the transcript to be received and inputted, because these transcripts are manually inputted. I took Calc 2 in high school through a local university. Do you recommend taking it in college or just starting? Amanda talked a little bit about that. I mean, that's going to be personal preference. If you are an engineering major and you look at some of the public flow sheets that Amanda provided us with, you'll see how interactive they are and how our engineering curriculum is embedded in calculus and physics. So those are the foundational courses. So if you took a Calculus 2 class in high school, were all of the concepts taught? Did you perform at a high level? If you can answer yes to both of those, yeah, it's probably realistic that you could start here with Calculus 3. If you can't answer yes to those, you should really consider repeating Calculus 2 in that first semester because of the significance that the course has to your future curriculum. The other thing to take into consideration of everything is going to be new in the fall. You'll be living on your own, probably for the first time, getting yourself to class, figuring out your meals, managing your time, figuring out laundry. So all of those experiences will be new, and to be able to have some familiarity with important course content might be refreshing.
I will say, Erin, just piggybacking off of that, there was a question asking if students should add classes other than what they're registered for, either with their advisor or auto enrolled. I really wouldn't. The first semester, like Erin said, I know it sounds maybe a little silly saying this, it's a huge semester of transition. And so many of our students in the School of Engineering were like top students in their high school, super smart. And we're so lucky to have such a great group of students joining us. But there are a lot of different factors that come into play when you're at college. Again, you're possibly living on your own for the first time. The college schedule kind of lulls you into this belief that you have all the time in the world because you're not in school from, like 7:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. So it's just a lot of transition for one semester. There's no reason to take more in that first semester, and it could really get you started off on the wrong foot if you are struggling with those courses, the level of work, managing your time, etc. So I would say stick with what you and your advisor get you set up in or that you're auto enrolled. And if you really knock it out of the park in the fall and you want to take more credits in the spring, absolutely, that's a conversation we can have then.
I see there are a number of pathway questions here.
Yeah. There's going to be a
Um,
pathway presentation. So,
Yep. So for all your pathway questions, please join us at our webinar, July 8th, UB Curriculum, Plan Your Pathways, by one of our assistant directors. Allison will be our presenter for that. That will also be recorded too. I would like to refer all your questions to that presentation because it's going to be in similar length and go very in depth, and we'll answer a lot of these questions.
I'll add on that again, I said in your 199 seminars, whether that's your EAS 199 or CSE 199, advising comes to talk to you, and we talk to you about pathways. So it's not something that again should keep you up at night this summer. It's not time sensitive. So love the interest and enthusiasm, and Allison will help you start to learn about that, but it'll be an ongoing conversation. So no need to panic about those courses.
For students that completed Calculus BC, a score of a 4 or a 5 will give you Calculus 2 credit, and those come with a subscore as well. And that subscore of a 4 or a 5 will give Calculus 1 credit as well. So students with that Calc BC score of a 4 or a 5 and the subscore can apply those credits to fulfill Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. If I've already done the MRI, do I still need to show my college credits if I have any? So yes, any college credit that you have earned needs to be reported. Those college credits need to be sent in. You want to do the MRA so that way we can get your math placement at this point because obviously getting college credit and AP scores takes time. Talia, that's a great question. My school had us use this website to transfer our dual enrollment college credits over to UB. So how will I know if UB has received my credits and transcript yet? Amanda, do you want to answer that?
So, you could look in your portal to see if your transfer credit has posted. If you just sent the transcript, like Erin said, this is a pretty high volume time for us, to be receiving documents. Other than that, you could email your advisor, they could check. But I would say start with the transfer credit tab in the portal, see if it's populating there. And then after 2-ish weeks, if you're not seeing it, maybe give your advisor an email.
Somebody asked about joining clubs and associations. What's realistic? I mean, if you can join one in your first semester, you're doing great. If you are trying to balance the transition to college and you don't get to a meeting or a club or an association in that first semester, that's okay. You'll do it in the spring semester. So if you can get to a meeting or you do join something that first semester, you're doing a great job. The UB seminar, EAS 199 or CSE 199, is just completed in that very first semester. So one time only. And then for our engineering students, they take a 1 credit seminar in the spring where you learn more about the different areas of engineering. I think we kind of talked about advantages and disadvantages of starting off in Calculus 3. Those students who might be thinking, well, if I start further ahead in the curriculum, I'll graduate faster. That's not accurate. Just because you're starting with Calc 3 doesn't mean you're going to shave a year off of the curriculum. And honestly, I will say you need all 4 years to get that full experience of being a college student and being a computer scientist or engineering student. Because as Amanda said, you have these blocks of time that are free, but those are the times that you're engaging with that lab work, with the research, with the clubs and activities, the things that are going to help you stand out and earn an internship. And then that internship experience typically then leads to employment. So you're going to need that time. So if you're thinking, oh, well, if I start off in Calc 3, or maybe your parents are saying, well, maybe if you start off in Calc 3, you'll graduate sooner, it's not likely.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
So so right now when I look at view my classes, the recitation for the what is it? For the seminar is still considered as to be announced. Should I create a schedule now or just wait until it's announced?
Let's see. The seminar time will be announced. So those of you that are your seminar lecture likely has a time, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon for the EAS 199. But if your recitation does not have a time yet, there will be a time. Um, I suspect that they're still trying to manage some of the classroom reservations. So it's better to just hold off on that, but you will have a time and it'll just organically just show up within Hub.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good question. There's another question about that in the chat.
I saw a question about changing class times if registered by an advisor. I would just caution you all if you're changing your schedule and your advisor put you into a class, you you could hit a wall when you're trying to make changes to your schedule. So for example, if I'm working with a student who has Calculus 1 credit from a university, like a partnership program they did in high school, I'm kind of like forcing you into Calc 2 because the system doesn't see that you have Calc 1 done yet. So if you try to mess with that class time, it could cause issues with your schedule. So that would be one caution I would give you. If your transfer credit isn't fully posting to your record just yet, trying to make adjustments is going to get difficult. I will also say we do often hear questions from students like, oh, I want to change my class times. That's going to be tricky. And that's kind of just an experience all of our college students go through. You know, when you get into especially your upper level, like 2, 3, 400 level courses, they're probably only going to be offered at one time, maybe two times. So it can be hard to get up in the morning. I hear you. It can be hard to focus later in the evening. And this probably won't be the only semester you'll find yourself in morning classes or in those late classes. For example, I know a lot of our labs, chemistry and the EAS 199s, I don't think those usually even start until 2 p.m. They're multiple hours in length, so they're going to run into dinner, possibly later in the evening. So your schedule will be yours to amend. Um, I would just do so carefully, and you won't be able to do anything before July 7th. So I would just caution you to think carefully about what changes you're trying to make, and use a little bit of discretion if you're doing that.
There's a question here about what should my first step be to registering classes? I just finished the MRA. So a automated process is happening behind the scenes daily. So the first step is that the holds come off. So students' auto enrollment will start a couple of business days after the holds are removed. So at this point, if you, through the presentation, you've checked all the boxes and you should be ready to register, I suspect that you will have classes on your schedule by this time next week. It's just the behind the scenes automation that's happening. And great job completing the MRA. If we can get everyone to do that, that would be awesome before orientation. see. Is it okay? Great. Thanks, Amanda. Is it possible to complete whole computer science course in 2 years? So starting from CSE 115, no, you wouldn't be able to complete it in 2 years. If you're starting with CSE 115 and you had all of your general education coursework done, you might be able to finish it in 6 semesters. But definitely not 2 years, and not less than 3 years at this point. So I already completed the academic and orientation form, I'm assuming is what that means. Can't remember if I listed AP credit. If you can't remember if you listed college credit you were earning or AP credit, please send an email to your assigned advisor, because they can look into that. It is important that we know what coursework that you have completed. So it's a simple email to your advisor introducing yourself, including your person number, and mentioning your completed coursework from your UB email, would be the best advice. Before when to complete the MRA? As soon as possible. Go ahead on Navigate 360, find out when the next appointment is, and take the MRA. The sooner that you do it, the better. If I want to do the 4+1 program, BSMS, how do I set that up? That's a great question. So we do have a number of combined degree programs. They won't impact your first semester class schedule. So get orientated with being a college student, get comfortable with your classes and you're managing your time. And then it likely won't be until your second year that you start to have conversations about those combined degree programs. You can start talking about them in your second semester. So when you're a spring student talking about that following fall enrollment, we can log that information in your Navigate profile and your notes. But it's at this point you want to focus on transitioning to be a college student and preparing to do the best that you can. How does UB Honors factor into all of this? So we have a number of our School of Engineering students who are also part of the Honors College. In that first semester, they are also in an honors seminar. They have required advising through the Honors College, and the requirements from the Honors College do fit around your engineering curriculum.
And I'm sorry, Aaron, they have the honors seminar that first semester, so you'll get a good orientation to honors expectations and things during that first term.
Are there where we can see which classes we are required to take outside of the courses needed for our major. So you will see that in two places. And Amanda showed us in the School of Engineering portal, in the personal flow sheet, you'll see those courses, and those are listed as pathway courses. And they're also in the public showing flow sheets. You'll see the general education requirements, the pathway courses listed. For our computer science students, they have the opportunity to also complete elective credit to reach the required 120 credit hours. I don't know that those elective credits are displayed within the flow sheet specifically, but it generally tallies to be around 14 elective credits. Our engineering majors are very high credit loads and don't have those elective credit availability.
We have a question if the seminar, the EAS 199 seminar times overlap with honors. Again, we work pretty closely with honors. We love our colleagues over in honors. So we'll work that out with them. We'll move either the honors seminar or our seminar. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. We're in communication with them pretty closely.
Hi, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so in terms of like moving ahead in Calc 2, I don't mean more like graduating early, but like so I'll have more spaces to take like minor or any other like if I maybe to do research, they need a certain threshold for math, and I can get into that earlier if I'm already ahead.
Yeah, so your question is about, if moving ahead in the math based on the courses you completed would give you a little bit of breathing room in future semesters to do other things, right? Like experiential learning opportunities, research, intern, that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's certainly possible. I mean, the math requirement really is only going to be like 3 to 4 credits of what your load is for any given semester. But you can see using your personal flow sheet or the public flow sheet, the way that those courses being fulfilled would alleviate a little bit of like what I call the credit crunch. Um, Again, I really recommend anyone who has possible math credit have a conversation with their advisor, just because it's such an individualized situation. I have students who feel super confident in their math experience, but they want a 4 credit class of an A to help that technical GPA. So there's things that we just want to make sure you fully considered before moving ahead. But if you felt that that was the right path for you, I'm sure your advisor would be supportive of that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We've just got a couple minutes left. So Erin put the future webinar schedule in the chat. So next week, on the 24th, it's preparing for orientation. I'll be hosting an international session for international students on July 1st. The Pathways one seems like it'll be one that's particularly interesting to all of you in attendance. Strategies for success. And then we've got an on-campus job with our friends from career design, and then connecting with mentoring. So make sure you mark your calendars. That way you'll connect with resources throughout our office, but then across the university broadly. And if you've got any last minute questions, now's a good time.
Our question about seamlessly transferring to another university like Cornell. So each university has different admission standards. So we are with the University of Buffalo School of Engineering and Applied Sciences and are trained and very familiar with our admissions criteria, both with UB and the School of Engineering. We are not trained on what other schools are doing for their admissions processing. So, if somebody is looking to spend a year here and then transfer on to another school, you would want to work with that other school to understand their admissions criteria. And I always recommend students start with the website. There's a follow-up question here, Amanda. Let me see what do you want to take the follow-up question since you answered the first part?
Oh, from Talia.
Yes.
Okay, Talia, if you met with your advisor and talked about, Talia had a question that some of you were also echoing, that you put some of your credit on the orientation form, but maybe not all of it. So I said, if you communicate that to your advisor, that's important, because if it's not all included on that orientation form, we're only working with like part of the picture. We want the whole picture. So Talia said she mentioned it to the advisor, which is fantastic. She used a website her school provided to transfer transcripts from two different colleges. Yeah, so if you requested transcripts be sent from the 2 different colleges, then it'll all be transferred over. My guess is the website you're thinking of is Parchment. So if any of you are requesting transcripts from schools, Parchment is like an online system that most schools and universities use. But Talia, I would just keep checking that transfer credit tab on your portal. And if we receive those transcripts and process them, you'll see that credit populate there. But if you use the website, you requested the transcripts from those 2 different colleges, there's no reason to think that it wouldn't make its way to us.
And last question for time here. Is it possible to double major in engineering and something else? Examples of business or economics. Our engineering majors are high credits. So as you'll see for the personal flow sheet and the public facing flow sheets, they're generally anywhere from, 14 to 18 credit hours. So then to add on another major like business or economics and to finish all those requirements in 4 years, there's not enough credit availability per semester to do something like that. Now, we do have combined programs. So some of our engineering programs have a combined master's in business administration that students apply into entering their 4th year of the curriculum. So that is a 5-year program where you earn a engineering degree and a master's in business administration. So if you just Google SEAS combined majors, you can see the information about those programs. And then economics. Economics is a smaller credit load, but again, with those engineering requirements, it is hard to do an engineering major and then another degree program from outside the School of Engineering and fit everything in 4 years. Generally, when we talk to students in advising appointments, we talk about the goals. We talk about, can you do something as a bachelor's degree and something as a master's degree? Then you're getting those 2 degrees within a 5 to 6 year time frame, rather than using that time to have 2 undergraduate degrees.
I think with that, we'll wrap up for this evening. Thank you all so much. You had fantastic questions. We're so excited to welcome you all this upcoming fall, and hopefully we'll see you in some of the success webinars a little bit later this summer. So have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you here on UB's campus quite soon. Take care.